bit exciting, my entry to the Brigalow art competition. This year, the theme is transformation. In the video, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the process as well as show you the extent of my idea. Now the sketch is very rough. This figure here represents Odious, I believe his name was. I could be butchering that greatly, but he came along one day to her island, and this is an image of him beseeching her not to smite him and turn him into a pig. Now, the theme being transformation for this competition, I could just leave it as is, but I'm always a little bit extra. I wanted to frame the painting, which isn't all that unusual until I tell you that I wanted to put handles on the side of it so that you could turn over the painting. And what you would find is almost a replica of what was on the front. Similar idea of the steps framed by columns. And Odious, he's the same as well. Circe's there on her throne, but the pigs would be men. I thought that would give a nice opportunity to interact with the painting. One thing that I know I have to take into consideration is that the image on the front will be much larger than the image on the back. Either that, or I make it the same. I'm just trying to use the sun to see if it was exactly replicated where everything would be placed. I nearly believe that I could make it exactly the same scale on the back and just have sides of the columns cut off. I think that's the way to go. I'll have to gesso the back, obviously, and I've never painted on the back of a canvas before like that, so this will be interesting. I know that the front will probably have to dry completely so that I don't get transfer like that, and then we can see how much time we have left before the competition starts to see if I can actually manage to complete all those tasks before the day. Anyway, I always feel like I make these big ambitious dreams and I never know if I can do it or not. I'd also just like to say I did not come up with this idea on my own to put my painting on the back. It was actually brought into my mind for this project by a friend's little girl who he had shown me a picture that she painted. I think it was of a rabbit or a bear or something. And then he's like, yeah, and she, I can't remember if she ran out of space or if she just decided it was a good thing to do, but she flipped the canvas over and started painting on the back. And I kind of was like, wow, that's it's a really interesting way of thinking. And I adopted it for this particular one because I thought it would be a great way to show the transformation, the one side versus the other. And hopefully the judges of the competition agree with me that it's a good idea, because going out on a limb, and last year I was very much told that my idea was a bit much, basically. I had too much going on. I don't know if you will remember it, but it was the image of a lady whose body was made up of stamps. And each stamp was supposed to be a memory that formed her. And within each stamp, I had an image from my childhood or an association from my childhood that I thought made up me and who I was. They're not wrong. The image was a lot. There's a lot going on. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of all of my ideas when it comes to painting, is that I just keep coming up with all these new segments or ways to think deeply about it, but sometimes it's not aesthetically correct, or maybe I need to learn to convey it in a better way. Anyway, I'll stop monologuing. Let's get painting. So at this stage in the painting, I'm just working on building up the underlayers. Grab my coffee that my partner so generously got me. Will tell you that I'm learning as I'm going, because if you look right here, you can see the grid lines are still coming through the painting, and same here and here. Now the reason for that is because I used graphite to line underneath the basic sketch, which I now know it's probably better to use charcoal because it's looser and it'll lift a little bit more easily than graphite does. Even the lines themselves, the sketches, I can feel that they're raised underneath. So hopefully I can get enough layers down to correct it, but I find it very frustrating in an area where I feel the colours are true and I'd like to leave them alone. I'm still getting the lines showing up underneath, and so you have to go back in even though you've got everything the way that you like it. And my colour matching is still not on par. So when I go back in, sometimes the colours are not right, and I have to lighten them or darken them and figure it out the hard way. But now we know, we're learning and we're growing. I wrote on the back of the canvas just to remind me what I wanted to name the piece, but I wrote it in graphite as well, so I'll have to go in with an eraser and make sure I try and lift it as much as possible before I start painting the back piece. So as I'm working, I just want to talk a little bit more about Circe's story. In Greek mythology, in Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus, who is, as far as I'm aware, a renowned traveller / warrior, he happens upon Circe's island, Aea, where she turns his men into pigs after they arrive. But rather than being depicted as a villain of sorts, she's more so seen as a teacher and guide. She helps his men later on in their journey. I want my painting to reflect that duality, the danger and the wisdom. Transformation isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's about growth and revealing hidden truths. In terms of technique, I'm layering thin glazes of paint to build depth and richness in skin tones and in the lighting. This method is inspired by a few old masters' techniques, but if you see me doing lots of little dot-like motions, that's because one of my most recent teachings was a master copy of Rembrandt. Now, I believe the portrait that I was following was a self-portrait of Rembrandt. He did lots of small brush movements to build and layer colour. Now, I work a little bit more loosely, so I will do longer strokes, but yes, I like to think that I try and follow a little bit of that technique. If you notice anything weird or maybe different that I do when I'm painting, please let me know. I'm still learning. I'm still getting the hang of it all. So if there's something that I'm doing in terms of my technique that isn't technically correct, I am more than happy to hear it. I am completely self-taught and follow tutorials online for a majority of my teachings, so any and all feedback is welcome. I'm gonna stop here for today because in the next step, you guys will see that next week. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Links to the products that I used in this video will be in the description. If you have any other questions, please leave a comment and I'll come back to you guys next week.